WesWes, y'all.
How many flags did you see driving over here?
Fuck. How many didn't I see? Probably a good 50, I'd say.
On the road too, I
50
saw
cars, not flags, cars with flags.
Yeah. Shucks. I see a lot of, but I'm always around here, and I see a lot, and I think, man, it must be every single car in South Auckland because I haven't been out there during this time, so I can imagine. I can imagine how many.
Just on that, I saw that there's a call for a Britomart parade.
Britomart parade.
So I threw it out there that it's just Central and West Auckland Hummels.
Yeah.
Trying to avoid Southside by calling a Britomart one.
I know out here at West we just organised one in 24 hours. So the Facebook thing went out. I saw 2 days ago, and now it's an event now. So apparently our local board wanted to see how many numbers there were.
Is that right?
And there were like a lot of people, so they decided to throw on. So they're doing a fan zone at Pass Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah, fan zone at Pass Park, and there's gonna be
so a screen to play the game.
I think so. I didn't see that part. I think so.
And there's a couple out south, Otara and Mangere.
Have you seen them? Have you been out there?
No. I know that they're planning to do a screening of the game at 5 a.m. But there's no alcohol, so all the drinkers will drink at home and watch the game at home, and then join the celebrations after.
Yeah.
I mean, win or lose, it's going to be a celebration for sure.
I mean, man, just the logistics of it all and the whole organization of these parades.
Yeah.
Like, it's good. Like, I found it good that when I saw that the local board approved all these things out west, that it was good for them. It was good for local board to recognize what's going on and do it for that.
Awesome. I even saw a massive flag on the KPMG building.
Oh, yeah?
In town, in the CBD. So well done to Matthew Pritchard and the KPMG team over there.
Yeah.
Francis Manuel as well. You had something to do with that, of course. So yeah, it was really nice gesture by the community. Obviously, our team, New Zealand's not in there. So who else can they support? They're not going to support Aussie. So everyone's supporting Samoa.
Well, that was the comment at my work, or the Palingis at my work.
Is that right?
Saying, everyone's going to support Samoa because no one's going to support the Aussies by default.
Yeah,
by default. But I saw all Ortex.
Yeah,
they got their office that overlooks the motorway. They put their Samoa flag up
as
well. Yeah,
they got heaps of Samoan workers, so they might as well.
Yeah, they've got the New Zealand Warriors flag, New Zealand flag, and the Samoa flag now.
Big money that company.
A New Zealand company, New Zealand family.
Yep.
I think they own part of the Warriors, huh?
Yeah, they do.
And I heard the owner's a big rugby league dude.
Yeah, he is.
He's got some hands in Point Chef Pirates.
What is it that they do? They have something to do with kind of soundproofing.
Well, they're
I think
they're the
construction as well, eh?
Well, they're the competitors to Pink Bats. So they do all the
right.
installation, quiet stuff and green stuff. And plus they do like pin boards, some wall linings, like the insulation stuff. Yeah. So now they're big. I think because at my work we deal with them all Pink Bats. Pink Bats Australian from Australia, and it all takes it from here. So support your local, I guess.
Any predictions for the game?
I said this 18-22 to Samoa.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a tight one because if anything, those two semi-finals were tight games, and I think that the Kiwis sort of gave the blueprint of how to beat Australia because they busted them down. All wasn't what was not in Kiwis' favours that they ran out of gas. I felt at the end.
Yeah.
You know,
I've seen a couple of posts online. Aussie commentators making an excuse like that.
Oh yeah, what did they say?
The built-in excuse that Aussie haven't really fired this World Cup, and they were exposed against New Zealand, and Cleary hasn't played to his full potential yet, which is true about Cleary, but he admitted that himself. And I do think he'll have a good game, but I just wonder if Luai and the boys will have a better game.
Well, Luai especially, he's been under Cleary's shadow for a couple of years now, playing for the Penrith. But in saying that, like, even Cleary's performance in New South Wales hasn't been like as great as he is for Penrith. Still, I mean, he had that one good game when New South Wales won game 1, but then he hasn't been.
I think what Luai has as an advantage against Cleary, though, he knows how he plays. He knows how to troll him. Whereas Cleary's not necessarily a troll. He focuses on his own game. And Luai, he's that good that he can troll his opposite. And I love that about him.
Well, a lot
of people get feels about it, but
he's the classic American style athlete, think about it that way, because they're into all that mind games and trash talking and getting in the opposition's head before the game starts. That's part of the battle. That's half of the battle sometimes.
That is, yeah.
And he plays into that like beautifully, I think. I
love how he brings that into the game, the banter, the trolling. Loves it. Especially when, I think Sevu Reece does it really well with Canterbury and All Blacks, you know. When there's a good moment or the positives, they put their stamp on it and make it so enthusiastic to come and celebrate, over-celebrating. Hey, that's what Sevu Reece does really well, and Luai does that really well as well.
And it pisses the opposition off, especially
totally.
opposition fans.
Totally does. If only the whole team does it. If the whole team celebrates every try like that, just over-celebrates like that, I think that can be really demoralising for the other side.
Well, I think in their round they do that anyway. They do it. Every time some scores a try, everyone's jumping on each other. The Penrith do it overboard more.
Yeah. Penrith, they do it overboard more than anyone.
Yeah.
And especially Brian To'o and Luai. Those two.
And that's like a dig to the opposition there.
It is, totally.
And I think it works. It works,
It totally works. Imagine like walking back to the post to take your stance and all you see is the opposition just, Joe! Suck on that. Eat it.
You touched on how we do it in New Zealand. I think we need to go that way.
Yeah.
I think we need to go that way because we see enough of it on social media, on TV, and if you're a fan of American sports, you see it all the time over there.
Yeah.
And it's sort of encouraged to do that, and that's why I think they don't get any tall poppy syndrome over in America. Hey, I mean, you've been over there. What's the difference with how people compete over there in sports?
Americans are all about that big play when it comes to their sports. As a player, they want to be the person who made that massive play, whether it be sacking the quarterback or an intercept that led to a touchdown or even throwing the touchdown pass. They want to be that guy because, those moments, the Americans, they savor those moments forever. And as a fan, you get these season tickets just to watch those moments. That's where I think the difference is. They're all about moments within the game, even though from the outside looking in, as a fan of other sports, you look at the NFL and you think, too many stop-starts. Far too many stop-starts. And the game's just too long. It drags and drags and drags, but that's what they're looking for, those moments. That's why they train as they do. That's why they put in all the resources that they do, have all the facilities, because they want to chase that glory of the one moment within a game. That Ray Lewis is, he's probably a really good example of chasing moments, sacking and creating a fumble, then grabbing the ball and going all the way. That's, as a defensive person, that's the dream. To sack a quarterback, create the fumble, pick it up, and go to the touch. It's awesome. In New Zealand, I think over here or the rest of the world, the way it differs is we're all about the process. We're all about making sure that the process is done right, and everything along the way showcases our skill, but also we get the result and we're humble about it. The Americans are total opposite. They're not humble about their results at all. They live off that banter that, we kicked your ass. You guys are shit. The Americans love that, but, over here, we're all about... I think we've enjoyed success so much in sports that we're good at that we tend to listen to outside voices telling us, be humble, be humble. Actually, no, don't. You don't need to be humble. Just conduct yourself in a professional way. I mean, you're allowed to celebrate.
I thought you were going to say because we've achieved so much success, especially with the All Blacks, that we don't need to be.
Yeah.
And if you think of the All Blacks, they're like the most winningest team in history of any other sport in the world, any other team, right? So because we grew up with that, and everyone and the previous generations grown up with that. Generations have grown up with that sort of statistic and the aura of the All Blacks. Like we don't need to be until the wheels start falling off, which I think in Foster has kind of help with that. But I think this is the first time, especially this season with the All Blacks, that the New Zealand public is, they're angry, and I've never seen this kind of, especially with the first time when we lost those 2 games to Ireland this year. I've never seen this public so angry at the coach since John Hart lost us the World Cup that time.
Yeah, so poor Fozzie. He's taken some of the heat off the other side of New Zealand, which is politics, and how a lot of people are, having a go at Ardern and blaming her for a lot of things. Fozzie is getting that same treatment when it comes to All Blacks and sport. Because he's seen as, the Obama of sports in New Zealand. He's seen as the top guy, the world leader, the voice, and the most powerful job in the country, which arguably so, I agree to that. And he knows the pressure that comes with it, and he knows the results he has to produce because of it. So, good luck to the boys, good luck to Fozzie and the All Blacks. They've got England. Don't know how they'll do, because it's always a weird one, that game against England, because it's only ever around this time of year, unless they're in New Zealand.
Yeah, and we never have consistent games with them. Well, like we get the World Cup and then one game maybe during the in between, one or 2 games in between.
It's always part of our November tour, right? And I don't know if we necessarily have our best team at those tours, but they're definitely coming off some good competitions. Those the English, and they're international game ready. So I don't know whether that's an advantage or not, but I think the real gauge is the World Cup, because everyone's under the same circumstances, same conditions. And, you can't really complain about the time of year because everyone's, there during those several weeks. Exciting times.
Have you seen did you see the All Blacks team? What was your first reaction? Because that was their top team, they said. That's like going to be the best.
Yeah, I think
they can put out.
Possibly the top team. I'm still not a fan of Scott Barrett at 6.
A lot of people aren't they? And I've heard some people are.
I mean, I'm a fan of him, but I'm not 100% sure having him at 6 at the expense of someone else is the way. But whatever gets us that W, I guess.
Well, that comes from the utility kind of mindset, eh?
Yeah.
That All Blacks have, eh? Like someone that can play 2 positions or more.
Who was a big proponent of the utility mindset was Laurie Mains. He loved that. He loved having a guy that could play more than one position. But now that we're starting to see that with Fozzie, it's like, are you trying to get rid of specialists in certain positions, or are you trying to promote utility players? Like I'm a big fan of utility players because I think it means someone with different skill sets and different positions has more time in the jersey. I mean, it's not about the player, but there are certain players that I'd like to see spending more time in the jersey, whether they're out of position or not. Like Rog. I'd love to see Rog back in there somewhere. If 12's not his spot right now, put him somewhere else. Give him a shot somewhere else. Obviously, there's good players all across the park, but try them out.
Do you think it matters whether you're in the backs or the forwards? The utility thing counts? Because it seems like all the criticisms come in the forwards if someone plays. You know, if someone's floating around, they'll lose forward positions 6, 7, 8. You know,
you see the problem. The problem I see with this particular scenario with Scott Barrett playing 6 at the expense of, say, Akira or who else is there? Who else? Frizzell, who's on the bench. I think the thing about that is Frizzell and Akira haven't obviously cemented their spot as a 6 or established themselves as the out-and-out 6. Here I am. I'm ready to be the next Jerome Kano. Right? None of them have. They'll have spells where they're great. They'll have moments where they do really well. But in terms of consistency, the way, you know, Jerome Kano had, there's I don't think of anybody in that team, in that collective, that, you know, comes to mind when it, you know, you think who's going to be the next Jerome. None of them yet. Yeah. Like, there's different skill sets that Akira brings to the table. He's got some great skill. Different skill set that Frizzell brings to the table. There's pure grunt. And then you've got Scott Barrett, who's just a workhorse. And I wonder if that's the criteria that Fozzie and the likes have picked him on. Whether, you know, the Barrett brothers play well when they're all on the field together, or whether they're trying to chase some milestone or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what Fozzie's planning there, but obviously we put our trust into him for another couple of years.
It's different what the rest of them are doing. Like the Northern Hemisphere teams pretty much put their specialist player in there rather than they've moved away from their utility kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, the Northern Hemisphere players, they come from, you know, the Heineken Cup comps, the Premiership. They come from all those comps, and I think right now it's looking like they have more competition for positions. It's just looking that way because there's a lot more good young players coming through. Whereas I don't feel the same way with New Zealand. New Zealand's got some senior players who probably need to move on soon. We've enjoyed having them and watching them over the years, and they've done really well. They were young players, and now they've become the senior players of the team. Maybe they need to look offshore to let the next ones come through.
Yeah. Because I don't know if our system's going to change or evolve. The way NZI has their rules with players that play here, play in Super Rugby, get picked for All Blacks. I know, you know, how South Africa and Australia have evolved their rules, and you can go play overseas and still play for us. You know, but I always thought that in Northern Hemisphere, they'll be struggling to get their players in because their positions have been taken up by overseas guys. Like a lot of Kiwis, a lot of South African players go over there and play for these teams, and the English and the Irish guy gets left on the bench.
I suppose that's the risk, eh? And it's the same for any employment anywhere in the world. If your position, or if you've got a position in a company that can only be done by a certain person who just happens to be based offshore, and you bring them in to service that role, you have to think, obviously there's no one locally that can do it. Until you've established that there isn't anyone locally that can do it, then that should be the go-to. That should be okay to bring someone offshore. Just like rugby, Matt Giddo. I believe he was still good enough to, command a spot in the Australian team when he was being brought back. I don't know if they named the rule after him. the Matt Giddo rule?
Yeah, the Matt Giddo rule, yeah.
Yeah, so players like him, world class, deserves a spot. Based offshore, and they brought him back in. I think that's just because there wasn't anyone locally who could do as good a job as him. Which, fair play to Australia, worked out.
Yeah. So the All Blacks, England playing, I think 6:30 tomorrow. So I think they'll overlap the Samoa game.
Yeah.
By half an hour, I guess.
So that game will be going, the All Blacks England game will be going. And whether or not Samoa win, that might be, I don't know, might want to catch the replay of that All Blacks game.
Yeah.
If you're a Samoa supporter.
Well, I'm predicting Samoa's gonna win, and I'm ready for it. I should have took Monday off, but now I got all day. We got all day tomorrow to celebrate the win.
Yeah.
But, man, this whole week, like the last 3 weeks doing empty out the podcast, thinking about things to talk about. You can't even talk about anything else, man. You can't.
You just can't.
You can't. It's Samoa,
I was thinking about that this week as well. I was thinking, far out. Any other normal week that Samoa's not playing in the grand final, what would we have been doing? You wouldn't see the flags, that's for sure. You would see the odd one here and there, but you wouldn't see it the way that we've seen it this whole week.
No, you wouldn't.
Every day, beep, 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 beep. It's like, even in Hamilton, City of the Future, there's flags there, but not as prominent as they are here. It's like, wow.
But then it's not just here too, it's around the world, It's like, I saw that on social media, there's a poster that's listing all the parades around the world.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No.
There's a list for New Zealand, Australia, USA.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then
awesome.
They got Dubai and
awesome
places like that. But the USA one was cool because there's a whole lot of cities in there doing parades. So.
Oh yeah, and just on that, big shout out to my Uso, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, for doing a 5-minute shout out to the Samoa boys, and I thought it was quite inspirational, that speech that he did. It looked like he was in his, those makeshift gyms he does when he's filming a movie. Eh?
Yeah.
He gets them to build a marquee for him and put gym equipment in there just for him.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's any wonder why he's in great shape. And also Daniel Vito was another one. He's in the WWE. Daniel, shout out to you. You did a post on Instagram. Someone else who's led the Samoa haka. I think he was captain as well at one point. So great to see Daniel doing well. Just having people like that, add that, add those kind of personal touch type messages that will really G up the boys.
Yeah.
So hopefully the boys are, obviously focused and on point. But I'm like you. I think they'll win. I think Samoa will win. I think they'll rise to the occasion, but they'll also. This is another thing that I like to. I always say, don't rise to the occasion. Fall to your level of preparation.
Don't rise to the occasion.
See, it's a different mindset,
fall
right?
To your level of preparation.
Yeah. So.
So can you break that down?
So what it basically means is, rather than rising to the occasion all the time, which means you're coming from a standpoint of being under something, right, and rising, be up there. In your mind, you're already up there and you fall to your level of preparation. So your level of preparation has prepared you for that thing, that mountain, that nirvana, that, that goal. And because you've prepared so well for it, you just fall to that level of preparation rather than in your mindset, rather than always coming from a level of, I'm over here, I haven't done that yet, and I'm going to rise to the occasion on the day for that performance. If you've prepared well, then you're ready for it. Even Michael Jordan says it. The only reason why he made those shots look so easy and so cold, in his words, He'd done them 1,000 times in training, in practice. They call it practice over there. They don't like to use the word training.
Training's like doing dumbbells and all that over there. But I think, yeah, you know what? I should snip that out and put that up there and tag in the Tosawa and you put that.
I actually stole that.
Up there.
I stole that from Chris Voss, who's the FBI negotiator. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of preparation. Which is a nice way to think of it.
You know how we're talking about the American sports culture? That is their mentality, to a T, I mean, he's just saying what everyone in America already knows, I think, or athletes know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And man, I have this conversation with Yash because he's at school, he's coaching kids and he's been to America too. So he sees the difference how the kids perform here, especially in practice or trainings and that. Like he talks about them not playing hard because the tall poppy syndrome comes into effect because kids are saying, "Why are you being serious? What a serious guy." That kind of talk, that's in America. There's no such thing.
Yeah,
they go, "Hey, that's normal. Aren't you supposed to be serious?" Kind of thing. So it's that mentality.
I think it's because Americans treat it like a religion, sport. They're so fanatical about their sport. And you can tell by the teams that they support. Their team, that's their team for life. They get tattoos on their hands and everything just to do with their team. And they have fights. Just kind of similar to the hooligans in football in the UK.
Yeah.
So fanatical about their teams. If you ever say anything bad about their teams and their supporters are around, man, good luck to you. Some of the worst supporters I've seen in London on the trains. If you're wearing opposition colours and you're on a train full of the opposition, good luck. The least you'll get is abuse, verbal abuse.
Yeah. What's the fan? Is it like between the Chelsea fans and the Arsenal fans?
All the London teams hate each other with a passion.
Right.
Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, QPR, they all hate each other with a passion. And then you have the regional teams like Everton and Liverpool. They hate each other. So they're all part of Merseyside up north. And Manchester, they fight amongst themselves, United and City. So everyone hates each other, but I guess depending on which part of England you're from, you hate certain teams more. But the whole, I guess everyone or every team that I know in England hates Millwall. Millwall is seen as the team to hate because they have the worst fans. They have the most aggressive, vigilante type fans. Honestly, they have the worst fans. Millwall.
Did you experience?
Great entertainment though for someone who's a rugby man that's watching from the outside in.
Did you experience the game, or did you go there?
No, I didn't actually. I've been to football stadiums to play rugby, but I haven't actually watched any football games. Just NFL in the States.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely an experience.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to experience and hear different sports cultures in different countries. Because you compare it to here, and I think, we are like a conservative sort of sports culture. Like we don't have much stories. We have stories, but we don't entertain them. Like the in USA, they're like big on that sort of thing. Like massive. You were saying, like any kind of story, they'll make a documentary out of.
Massive. They love their stories over there in the States.
But they've got all the footage too. I mean, when you saw that Last Dance documentary, all that footage was from footage just going along during the time, right?
Yep.
Behind the scenes, even the ones with the changing rooms with Michael Jordan playing with the playing dice with the security, like footage of that. Like you'll never New Zealand rugby will never have that kind of footage in any kind of changing room or thing in the past there. So we don't have the footage to make those kind of stories.
Yeah, I think it's a sad part of our reality here in New Zealand.
But this is sad because we're now seeing what other countries are doing, and we can see the potential why they have such a sporting culture. Because in America, like, what it does, it makes people spend money. Because when you're passionate so much, you'll spend money. And so, and plus, I loved how, like, it's not even the fans spending money on their teams. It's even commercially, like pubs or bars, like they have nights where the game's on and everybody, the whole town comes to the pub and watch the game. You know, you're spending money at the pub.
Yeah.
You know, and then other sports bars pop up because they want to get that. So it's, you know, it's all part of it. But over here, we don't have that kind of thing, eh? We don't have the big event like, I think Adi Severe, he said in an article recently about New Zealand should have big events for games, have a tailgating thing.
Yeah.
Have food trucks, have come 2 hours before the game and, you know, have a concert and that and stuff like that. But
yeah, it's a part of the American sports culture that I miss, the tailgating part of things, because it adds to the experience, right? It adds to the experience of the whole, you know, and they make a whole day of it. They don't just say, "Oh, I'm going to go to the game and we're going to go do these other things." No, you actually base your whole day around that game. Tailgating, pre-game, go to a local bar after the game.
Yeah.
And that's just the done thing. That's why all the bars do well over there.
Yeah.
Whereas over here, 2 years tops.
There's liquor bans here and can't drink out in the cup.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly it.
So, and plus, you know, like, I think, like, sports are always calling for money. Like, the government has to fund them. You know, there's no money in New Zealand basketball.
Yep.
You know, but if they were to change the sporting culture in New Zealand and mimic something like America, like, you won't need to ask for money because the people will be supporting it. Like, you make people so proud of the team that they'll spend money. Like even in the club teams, like in club rugby. You know, no one's gonna go to the club games unless you played for that team in the past, or your family's playing. So you only get the families there. You don't really get the whole community. Like,
and the same for the likes of the women's teams, like Black Ferns as well. You're not going to go watch a Black Ferns game, but I'm taking ourselves 10 years now. Back then, you weren't going to go watch a women's team or a Black Ferns game unless you knew someone in the team, unless, you know, you had something to do with the team, right? So now it's like, shucks, there's actually other reasons to go watch a Black Ferns game and enjoy and be a part of that experience. One, because it's entertaining rugby, and it kind of has what is lacking in the men's game. You know, that flair, that you don't know who's going to win kind of thing, you know, unless it's a drubbing. Point in case was the Black Ferns, the first day of the World Cup, Black Ferns against Australia. Probably the first time I've ever been to a Black Ferns game.
Right.
And it was quite the experience.
That was the opening match, huh?
Opening match.
Yeah.
So you had England smash Fiji before the Black Ferns game, and then there was another game before that. But it was quite an experience to see the Black Ferns playing that brand of rugby. And it was awesome. They weren't scared to try things, as well as the English as well. You know, it's like the English are a bit of a powerhouse, and they the way they went through Fiji that day, it was like, oh yeah, they'll be at the final. And we weren't so sure about the Black Ferns because they struggled a little bit against Australia in that first game,
especially the last 2 years, like of COVID and
so they were getting beaten 17-0, but then 41 unanswered points to make it 41-17 as a final score. That was awesome to see. To see them getting hammered in the first minutes of the game by Australia and then coming back and beating them the way they did. That was awesome. That made me go, the way they did that and came up with that win, I will definitely pay money to watch another game.
Yeah. Yeah. That you're right. Those last two games, especially with the Black Ferns against France, that went down to the wire. And they won because they missed a kick, you know, and then same sort of thing happened when they had their line out right on the Black Ferns line and the hand of, let's call it the hand of God.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like, I remember watching that moment thinking, holy shit. They just broke a streak with a line out.
Yeah.
By contesting the lineup, because they normally wouldn't have. They would have let it go and tried to contest the rolling maul. But you know, obviously I believe the call came from Wayne Smith to contest the lineup at the front. What a call that was!
You had to.
That won the World Cup.
It won.
Yeah,
but you had to try. You had to
take a risk
because there was a high chance that what they call it, the white anaconda. The white anaconda would have happened.
Yeah,
England would have won the game.
They were smashing us all game with that. But there were a couple of big girls that came on in the dying stages of the game. They were awesome. Yeah. The impact that they had on the dying moments of the game, it was needed because they stopped a couple of those rolling mauls. It was like, shit, that's awesome. It just seemed like those rolling mauls were unstoppable. And I've always maintained throughout the years, the rolling maul is the most unutilized weapon that a rugby team has. It's underrated, and as you saw with England, undefeated. You can always use it to suck in players. You can always use it to, put your team off your opposition off their game plan. Because it just keeps sucking in defenders. And you get meterage.
How come teams don't use that much? Because I know the Brumbies always use it.
Because I think it's because they prefer to run it. They prefer to use their backline skills to create space out wide and get those people out wide to get the space by running it. But it's so underutilized. Like, the only international team that's done it consistently over the years is South Africa.
Right.
When they use it against the All Blacks, it's unstoppable as well. They've scored tries off it. So, I'm a big fan of the rolling maul. I hope it never goes away.
Yeah.
And I hope they, as much as I am a fan of rugby league, I hope they don't keep bringing rugby league rules to rugby just to make it more entertaining. There's other ways to make it more entertaining.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that. Their version of the 2040.
Yeah.
The 40-20. What do they call it?
50-20, I think.
50-20?
Something like that.
50-22.
It's ridiculous. I love it when it's our teams that are benefiting off it, but that dropout.
Yeah.
Was that just Super Rugby where the dropout was in play?
It wasn't Super Rugby, yes. But I think that was just a trial, right? I think.
Oh, it was just a trial.
I don't know. But, yeah. But, we're talking about the Black Ferns, like, you know how women's rugby has grown ever since the World Cup, World Cup started this year. If I could unpack all that, like, because the thing is, like, how do we make the women's game more accessible to the public or more popular? Because, if you take the World Cup out of it, is it still going to be the same? But I think one of the factors was Ruby Tui. Because she's, man, the way she is herself, just her personality, just her own personality.
Yeah.
Like, she's herself. Like, no.
She's awesome.
Don't even worry about the media training they give, because I think she's one of the reasons why it's popular too. Like, she's brought more fans in, the way she acts and that. Like,
I think they need more players like that. Club level, NPC level, international level. They need more players like that who have the Ruby Tui energy and can bring that to a team. Because even though she has that awesome energy, like in interviews, when a game's over, she can G up her team and they can do some on Besses as well. I think if you have more players like that, it just makes it more enjoyable for the fan who watches. So I was enjoying every moment. I was like, far out, that's awesome. And to see, her sharing her culture with her teammates and them like singing that Samoan song as part of their celebrations, it's awesome to see. Also, the fact that she is professional as a player. Like you watch her on the during the games. She's not an asshole. She actually like G's up the opposition as well. She'll be compassionate in those moments because she's a professional. She knows, and I think that energy is definitely something that New Zealand rugby needs to try and harness, try and get more out of other players.
Oh, do something different. Don't be not transparent like they used to be doing that. Like be more involved with the community, I guess, in a different kind of way.
I think a lot of the reason why we don't see many other Ruby toys or haven't seen other Ruby toys about is because there is that fear. Just like in the workplace, there's a fear that if you are yourself and you bring your own personality to the workplace, like for Ruby Tui, she bring her personality to the workplace. I think there has been that stigma and that fear that if you bring your personality to the workplace, you'll be seen as, who the hell does that person think she is? Who does she think she is coming over here and acting the way she does? She's so stupid. Like, it's so unprofessional. When in actual fact, that helps build the team morale.
Yeah.
Totally. It's like the team see her with her energy around them. It's like far out. How can you not be positive around that type of a person?
When you're comparing that to like, say corporate New Zealand, right? Like who talks like that in wearing a suit, wearing a tie in the board meetings, sort of thing, right? It's like there's certain etiquettes to things being professional in business or being in that environment, like to come in and talk like how you talk at home.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that kind of thing is changing?
It's totally changing.
Like people are being more, like even with emails, like there's a thing about emails, but then when you do the LOL in the email, it's not really like a.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of adding your personality to emails and to the workplace, because people value authenticity. They value genuine people, genuine conversations. They don't value fake. People value if you're yourself.
So who are these people? Are these people the next generation that are valuing this now? Or is this got to do with...
I think people in general. So let's say you're in a workplace scenario where you've got a C-level exec, you've got a chief of this, chief of that, right? And then you've got the normal workers, and let's say the chief financial officer walks through the office or walks through the workplace, and everyone immediately starts thinking, oh shit, I need to be professional because I'm about to talk to the chief financial officer. Whereas the workplace that I would like to see is chief financial officer breaks the ice with the workers and says, hey, and starts being themselves, rather than what people's perception of a chief financial officer should be. And then the workers can be more relaxed and feel a certain type of way towards the C-level exec. By doing that, the chief financial officer has now opened their eyes to other C-level executives, thinking, they're humans. The CFO has just humanized the situation. That could have been, seen as too formal. Oh, I better not talk to you in a certain way because you might take it the wrong way. I better not throw any banter to you about your sports team, Mr. CFO, because I might, be up for personal grievance or something like that. So I think in the workplace there is boundaries, there's limits, and there's, ways that you can get through to anybody in the business without coming across as disruptive. There's ways to throw banter about. We just don't know how to do it. And there's also ways to stop things from happening, stop toxic behavior from happening. Again, we just don't know how to do it. Because a lot of us, we tend to fall back on what we know, which is direct threats. If you rub me the wrong way, I'm going to threaten you.
Yeah.
Right? So there is professional ways of doing that without, and you cover your own ass by saying certain things to certain people, especially when those people are being dickheads too. I think there are certain tools that you can use within the workplace, within the team environment as well. Because banter can get too much. Banter can get into the personal side of things. And when that happens, that's when fists start flying. But if you know how to bring yourself down as the person trolling the other people, and apologize when it's needed, I think that's definitely valued within team spaces. Unfortunately, you have teams who have rogue individuals who do their own thing. They're not about the team. They're just there to achieve their own agenda. And same for the workplace. I see it time and time again. People aren't genuine in the workplace, not respected in the workplace, not seen as a trusted advisor or authority, not seen as a trusted colleague because they've done some dodgy things. So the same can be said for the team space. Within a team, there's trust, there's loyalty, there's respect. There's all those great things that you can easily transfer to the corporate world or the workplace. And I think that's the beauty of our sport, rugby union and rugby league. Those are transferable qualities that are valued out there in the workplace.
So you and your journey with sales, and you're in the business sector, with marketing and all that. Now, how is that going now? How's that going now? Because the other times you've been on this podcast, like we've been talking about your sales journey, being because for me, like if I need some advice, sales advice, I always give you a text or give you a call, because you want it to be the sales guy with a brown face that other brown faces can relate to.
Yeah.
So that was a couple of years ago. How's your journey going now?
It's evolved, definitely. It's definitely evolved. A couple of years ago, I had some customers that I was dealing with that needed mentoring. Their teams needed coaching. And although I was there to instill sales skills into them, they needed much more than that. And I found that it helped grow me as well. You know how they say iron sharpens iron. I felt like by dealing with these particular individuals, my iron was being sharpened as well, because not only was I dealing with sales and the gaps in their knowledge in sales and using sales skills, I was helping them on other areas in their mentality, their mindset, helping them feel safe, helping them with, determining, okay, my role, how much of my role has an impact on my identity. These are the kind of conversations I was having with these people. And because I was having those conversations, I felt like, holy, I'm growing as a trainer as well. Because I'm now not just dealing with the salesperson, I'm dealing with the human beyond the workplace. Because the human beyond the workplace needed fixing, as well as the salesperson. And until we both had commitment to help with the human beyond the workplace, that's when the sales skills became so much better, and then results came. So, the business owners are happy because they're getting the results from these individuals. The individuals are happy because when they leave to go home, they're in a much better headspace. So these are the types of things that make me really proud about my journey in sales, because not only am I training them how to learn better sales skills in the workplace or in the sales world, but I'm coaching them on how they can transfer certain sales techniques into their personal lives to help them in those moments when they're by themselves as well. Because we all have those moments where we question things. We think, fire up, should I do this? Should I do that? Is this good for me or isn't it? Can I do it? Why wouldn't I do it? Nah, I shouldn't do it. We all have those, those doubts in our minds that we listen to that, what's called the inner critic. The inner critic can be detrimental to our mental health, because it's the inner critic that is the reason why a lot of us who are going through certain things like anxiety and depression, the inner critic is that voice that tells us we're not good enough. And until we figure out that we are good enough, we're going to keep listening to the inner critic. The inner critic's going to tell you, no, don't go ahead with that business idea you just thought about.
Do you think that inner critic is like a seed that was planted from an outside person telling that to you in the past, and that sort of planted that inner critic seed inside you that sticks with you throughout your life? And
that's a good question, because and what I think the inner critic is, it's kind of similar to your instincts when you're in moments and you think to yourself, should I listen to my gut instinct? Or shall I just go with what this textbook has just told me? Listening more to your gut instinct is basically the universe's way of saying, here's all these experiences that you've had in your life to this point. We're bringing all that data. We're bringing all that data to this moment. And we're telling you, by giving you that gut instinct, you need to go this way. Right? Because we've got the data to back it up. The universe is saying your past to this point, all the ups, or the downs, or the highs, or the lows, they have contributed to this moment where your inner computer was saying to you, this is the way to go. Go that way. But you may be distracted, or you may be listening to other voices saying, nah, don't do it. Go this way. So the inner critic is that voice that's saying, go the other way. Don't listen to your gut instinct. I think the inner critic is seeds of doubt that we've had along the way. The inner critic is internal messaging that we've had from upbringing. So internal messaging could be we're finally remembering all those telling offs that we had growing up. Money doesn't grow on trees. Just using money as an example. The love of money, is the root of all evil. Or, you get people saying, money's the root of all evil, but the love of money is the root of all evil. Which one's the correct one? So in your mind, you're like, I've always been told money's the root of all evil. It's actually the love of money that is the root of all evil. So, and you get people who say money can't make you happy, and yet others who've got money, they say, yeah, it can't make you happy, but it gives you choices. And it leads to happiness. So The instinctive part, I think, is your internal computer telling you, we're doing all the work for you so you don't have to think in this moment. In this moment, we're just giving you a little nudge to say, we've done all the thinking for you, go this way. That's what I think the internal, the instinct is, that gut instinct. So
that gut instinct, if I can relate it back to sports, is there.
Yeah.
When Stephen Crichton kicked that goal to win the game, that was the instinct right there. And
I think that the other gut instinct in that moment was Chanel Harris-Tavita. He could have passed it to Milford, faked him, and went 20 metres the other way.
Yeah.
Right? Because Crichton, in interviews after, has said, he told the boys, I'm ready, I'm here. If you need me, I'll be over here. Because he could see that Milf was being rushed. Because they knew he was the guy that was going to take the droppy.
Yeah.
So I was so glad when I saw Chanel pass it to Stephen, because Stephen was right in line, right? It was a 40-metre kick, but he was right in line.
Yeah.
And obviously he's done it before, so in practice.
You know how you're saying, like, that thing when you think to yourself, go the other direction, don't listen to the inner critic. You know that term, that's what you describe, how to defeat that inner critic is what people, that's the background to what people say, back yourself. Hey, because when you're right, when you've done all the training, when you've done all the studying, when you've done everything in the background to lead you up to this moment, and then you decide I can't do it. Hey, what do you mean can't do it? You just did all the work.
So
back yourself.
That's another thing. The inner critic and the seeds of doubt that we've picked up along the way is what leads to fear in the moment, the anxiety. Whereas the confidence that comes from practice, consistent practice and creating habits and making it second nature, when that moment comes, if that side is stronger, where you've done all the practice and it's become second nature because you've done it many times before, versus the inner critic trying to pull you down and say, no, pass it. Pass the ball. Don't drop it. Don't drop kick it. The inner critic has to be weaker than the practice that you put in. Otherwise, you will listen to the inner critic because you haven't done enough practice to give you enough confidence in the moment to go, no, I've got this. I've done this before. I know it works because I've done it before. So I've got that knowledge knowing it's fine. Say, for instance, you are a lion tamer. You've tamed many lions and you've lived with lions and you work with them every day. And you've got someone who is having their first experience with those lions. They come in with fear. Whereas you've spent that time with the lions, right? You've got the knowledge. Knowing, I know exactly how to deal with the lions. This person who's seeing lions for the first time and has come into that area where the lions are, they're shitting their pants because they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the experience or the confidence to say, I've got enough skill and knowledge to know how to deal with the lions. Same thing. Familiarity. If you get familiar with something, you know it to a point where in a moment, in a big moment in a game or wherever it is, you know how to deal with it. That's why I always say with my training, with my coaching and mentoring, the power is in reinforcement. Because when you reinforce your knowledge, and reinforcement is basically same as rugby, practice on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday game, keep doing that every week for however many weeks, it becomes second nature. Because you practice so many different drills that can happen during a game, when that moment comes in the game, oh shit, yeah, we did this in training. We trained for this rolling maul. We know exactly how to deal with it. So the powers in reinforcement, same as sales, going back to your question, the place that I'm at with my sales is I've got to a point where I'm still trying to learn if there's scenarios that I haven't come across yet in sales, because I've heard all the excuses, I've heard all the objections, I've heard all the types of answers that you can get from a customer, and I've heard all the answers that a salesperson can give in different variations of it, like using their own personality and own verbiage to pitch or to ask questions or to gather information. I'm still learning to see if there's other things or other situations that I haven't come across yet. And that just comes from my, 20 years of experience now in various sales roles. Selling from business to consumer, business to business. There's so much that comes with that experience that I think to myself, here I am in 2022 as a salesperson. I'm an individual contributor with one company, and I'm a mentor and coach with another. Where am I at in my sales, career, knowledge, experience? I feel like I've arrived as the person that I needed 20 years ago. Right. That person that I needed 20 years ago, that I was looking for a good decade. I feel like I've become that person now, and I just need to take it to the next level and create that next person through mentorship, through coaching, through training, through advocating. So I'm now advocating for the next generation to go, it's a career option. It's a viable career option, just like a career option in IT. It's a viable career option, but it's not talked about enough, especially amongst our people. We're always talking about, go be that doctor, lawyer, accountant, All Black, because you've got sporting talent. What else is there? There's IT, there's sales. Everyone needs some level of sales, whether it be basic or elite. There's some level of sales that we need in our interactions. Some level of negotiation. Like, for instance, if as soon as somebody says, I want, you're in a negotiation, whether you know it or not. As soon as a kid says to their parent, I want, there's a negotiation going on. And the kid, depending on the parent, can win that by acting the way they do, throwing tantrums, right? If the parent is immune to that, the parent wins. If the parent knows what's going on, knows how to deal with it, the parent is using their skills to get past what's happening. So, same with the sales world. I feel like I'm at that point now where I need to create the pathway for the next generation to come through, because it's been done now.
You know, with this day and age, with because when I think of sales, I think of the basic sort of sales profession, like you're selling something to a customer. With technology evolving and changing, and with what I'm hearing, you talking about sales in everyday life, that is a skill that can be attached to any sort of future profession.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, because it's the negotiation aspect that is the important thing with sales. Doesn't have to be just selling a product to someone.
Yeah.
It's closing a deal or helping out, or being a leader, helping up helping up the company, whatever it is. IT, it's information technology. It's solving problems through technology, but sales like a face-to-face kind of thing. Like you're solving problems face-to-face. There's a problem, let's solve it. If you want to move on with us, let's move on. That kind of thing. So, how in terms of like the changes in the work, like with technology and that, like are you seeing a lot of Pacifica coming through? Like choosing sales as a career option and coming to you?
There is. The answer to your question is there is a lot more Pacifica coming through. But they're coming through other avenues, other roles. So I'm seeing a lot of Pacifica coming through account management roles, which to a certain degree uses sales skills. And there's others who are advisors for insurance companies. You know, a lot of them probably don't think they're using sales skills, but they have to as part of their role, especially in insurance. You're selling something to an intangible, which is something that a customer doesn't know they need until they need it. So you're selling futures, right? You're selling a future concept of something I'm going to need when I die, or when an accident happens, or when something happens to my condition. And it hasn't happened yet. So because you're selling that concept of insurance, it's like, okay, that's sales, right? Then you have account managers who upsell. They get allocated a portfolio of accounts that they work with, who are existing customers. They've already been sold something, and account managers work within those accounts with the various stakeholders in those accounts, make sure everything's okay, and then once everything's okay, they can upsell them other products into the business. So there's sales there for sure. And I'm seeing a lot of Pacifica people getting into those roles. And I'm just not sure if they realize there are sales skills required. A lot of them wing it, from what I've seen. So they kind of bluff their way through with, jargon, with convincing. I call it convince mode. So there's a lot of people who go into convince mode. They feel the need to persuade a customer by listing the features, the advantages, and the benefits of their product that they're trying to introduce to the company. When in actual fact, one, the prospect didn't ask, right? They didn't ask. So you've got to help them find the problem first. There's got to be a problem. No problem, no sale. No pain, no sale. So if you find the problem or the pain, you've got to get the customer to admit there's a problem or there's pain or a challenge. Once they've admitted that there is a challenge that, needs to be fixed, that's when you can progress the conversation to lead to whatever it is that you provide. So your product or service can be put to the side whilst you're having a conversation with the prospect, because as a sales professional, your first goal should be, I need to figure out in a conversation with you, Cameron, if there's even a deal to be made. If there's even a conversation to be had. Until I figure out there is, I'm not going to talk about my product, because my product's not going to work for you anyway. Right? Unfortunately, even in 2022, you've got salespeople who lead with their product. Here's what my awesome Heineken can do for you. Right? It can make you feel warm inside. Make you feel happy. When in actual fact, they should be saying, they should be asking questions, You look thirsty. What do you normally do in these thirsty situations? Right? Questions like that lead to the Heineken. You don't lead with the Heineken, you lead to the Heineken. With the questions, not necessarily in a manipulative way, but you're trying to find out, okay, is there even a deal to be made here? Are we in a conversation where you have a need for my product? If there isn't, let's cut it off so I can go and focus on the person that does need it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Spend my time and resource on the person that does need it.
I like how you said that, because my pet peeve going into like JB Hi-Fi and all those kind of places.
Yeah.
Like I'm going in there to have a look, see what there is in terms of TVs and or whatever. But I'm not going there to buy anything. You know, I just want to have a look. Then someone comes up to me and goes, "Oh, hi, sir. Do you need any help?" You know, I said, "No, I'm sorry. I'm just looking," and then they'll just go. But the ones that stay and see what I'm looking at, "Oh yeah, we've got some TVs over like blah blah blah," and they'll just, you know, like, man, I didn't even ask.
Yeah, yeah. See, the problem with those ones that stay, they don't ask the right questions, right? Like a first question, like an icebreaker question that they could ask is, "What's brought you into the store today?" Right? That takes the focus away from, "Do you need any help?" Blah blah blah. That typical bullshit first up question.
That's a nice alternative to "Do you need any help?"
Yeah.
Because of course, if I'm here looking, I don't need any help. I'm just looking.
What's brought you into the store today?
Yeah, that's good.
And you could, as a person who's been asked that question, you could use humor as your answer. I just thought I'd come use the toilet. Then you can both have a laugh. Right, that breaks the ice.
Yeah.
And then you can get into, "Oh yeah, is there anything in particular you need help with that I can help with whilst I'm here?" So as a salesperson, that's what we miss out on, those opportunities to establish ourselves as, one, we're busy too. I know you're busy looking, you're shopping with your family and all that. I'm busy as well, but I'm willing to have a conversation with you if I can help you. If I can't help you, I'll leave you alone. But they have to establish that up front. And they can't just use age-old, "Oh, how are you today?" For me, that's a hate crime. HAYT, right? "How are you today?" Don't ever ask that. All those Noel Lemmings and Harvey Normans guys, they all use that. "How are you today?" Oh, where's this fake enthusiasm coming from? Are we mates? Do we know each other?
That's exactly the impression I get, like when they stay and talk.
People do it in cold calls as well. It's like, wow, do we know each other? I always answer that with, "Sounds like you have somewhere you want to start." Because it kind of puts the salesperson at ease. And I want to hear what the reason why they're calling. Stuff the "How are you today?" I don't answer the "How are you today?" or "How are you?" I go straight to, "Sounds like there's somewhere you want to start." And then they just go straight into their pitch. Yeah. So then I'm like, I appreciate the fact that you've just come out with your pitch rather than all the bullshit small talk. Disingenuous, you know, you don't really care how I am. Don't ask me how I am if you don't really care. I get that you're trying to get a gauge, you're trying to get a sense for what I'm feeling at the moment as a prospect by saying, "How are you today?" Another cool one that I've heard recently in the last couple of years is, "How have you been?"
Oh, yeah,
That's a good one. That's a good one to use instead of "How are you today?" Because "How are you today" is overused. "How have you been" is good because it kind of brings it down. I will answer, "How have you been?" "Good, you?" "Good, you?" You know, that's typical small talk, canned response. "Good, you?" Canned response means, as a salesperson, you should be worried because if I'm giving you a canned response like "Good, you?" you should be like, "Oh, okay, that's a canned response." They've heard it before.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
They've heard that question before. "How have you been? How are you?" And they just want to shut the conversation down by just keeping it short. So
these are like red flags or signs, eh?
Oh, totally. Red flags. Those early stages of a conversation, whether it be in person or on a call, they're a good judge for how the conversation's going to go, whether you should even waste your time talking further. If I hear a salesperson that is struggling, I want to help them out. And that's what I use in my cold calls.
Yeah.
You know, my cold calls always ask for help. This is my first line as my cold call. "Hey Cam, it's just Joey here. I was wondering if you could help me out for a moment." Then I'll wait for your response. I'll wait 10 seconds if I have to. Yeah, sure, go ahead, Joey. "Well, I'm not actually sure you can help me, Cam, or even if my company can help you. I was wondering if you're open to buying a case of Heineken." No, if Heineken was something that I was selling. I was wondering if you're open to talking about the type of beer you're into. See, you'll be more open to talking about the type of beer you're into because of the way I open the call. I first said, it's just Joey here. So I kind of disarmed you a bit because I didn't come out with a, hey, how are you today? Oh, another sales call. I said, oh, it's just Joey here. Or Joey of Heineken.com. And then already you know who I am. You know where I'm from because I've made it clear. I said it really clearly. I didn't rush through it. So I've got confidence in my company because I didn't rush through it. I've got confidence in my name because I didn't rush through it. It's just Joey here of Heineken.com. I'm wondering if you could help me out for a moment. The way I asked that question, right? I added a pause in there, made it sound like I'm kind of struggling, and it wasn't a question I had ready on a script before I jumped on the call. Made it sound like I just came up with that question in the moment. And you listening to the question, you should be going, oh yeah, sure, go ahead, right? Or something to that effect. You might say, oh, what can I help you with? What's this about?
That's cool because you know say if you relate that back to my experience at No Limit or whatever, and the guy comes up to me, he's confident because would you like any help, but you're coming in the direction where you need help.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to make a sale.
Yeah.
You need help. So automatically, we both need help.
Exactly.
So how can we come to
So if I was a Harvey Norman guy approaching you.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Or, the typical Kiwi thing. How's it going? Right? Typical Kiwi way of saying hello. How's it going? Then just, well, see, I'm starting to struggle. What brought you in today?
Yeah.
Right? Because of the way I asked the question, you're
bringing yourself down to the level of the customer.
You're going, oh, he's not in any rush to sell me something. He's not trying to sell me a product. He's not trying to. So I'm stopping myself from being commoditized by you because I'm getting down to your level or, getting us on the same level and disarming you. And I'm making you think, oh shit, this guy's not here to sell me anything. He just wants to see if there's a conversation we could have.
Because that leads back to your thing where we have to find out if there's a problem first.
Yeah.
And then let's solve it.
Let's solve the problem once we find a problem together.
Yeah.
Problem find, then problem solve. A lot of salespeople are told you've got to be a problem solver. It's true, absolutely. If there isn't a problem to solve, what are you solving exactly? So you've got to help the customer find the problem, and you've got to help them come up with the data. See, there's different techniques and skills to be able to help them to do that. They have to come up with the data. They have to verbalize it because they need to hear it in their own ear, that they said it, not you, the salesperson, because typically salespeople, we tend to like to talk about our product. Say, oh, it's got all these awesome benefits and advantages. And you should. And then we start using things like, you should buy it. You're going to love it. Making that assumption that they're going to love. No, all you're doing is you're stomping on the other person's autonomy to make a decision for themselves. You're saying you should. Basically, I've made the decision for you. Right? And you hearing that, you think to yourself, oh, I'm being pressured into something here. I'm being sold something that I didn't ask for. But if you were the one that said you've got a problem, you've got a gap, you've got a challenge, you've got an issue, if it came out of your mouth, whose data are you going to believe first? Your data or mine? You're going to believe yours, right? So that's what I try and get salespeople to do all the time. I get them to say, hey, look, you've got to ask questions that gets the prospect to come up with what they want to share. And unless you're asking good questions at the right time, they're not going to want to share anything with you. They're just going to want to fob you off. They get into the fight or flight mode. So there's fight, flight, or freeze.
So explain those things.
So that's typically what happens when you feel sales pressure. So let's say, for instance, you walked into a Harvey Norman's. You can see someone beelining for you, right? In the corner of your eye, you can see someone beelining for you. and you're bracing yourself, right? Because you're like, oh shit, someone spotted me and they're coming to, they're walking up to me and I can feel it. They're about to say something. Hello, sir. How are you today? Really enthusiastic voice. It's fake enthusiasm, fake care. We ask how they are. And that immediately builds sales pressure and the walk builds sales pressure. So in your mind as a prospect, you saw the walk. Oh, yeah. You heard the hello, sir. Oh, yeah. How are you today? Oh, shit. Yep. Sales pressure. The wall's there now, right? They have to try and break through the wall now. It's the salesperson has got so much work to do to break through the wall, but first impressions last, right? And the way to change that situation is by disarming the customer. You've got to disarm them up front because they've already got their own preconceived notions about what salespeople are going to do to them. And sales pressure, once it's built, it's hard to come back from as a salesperson unless you've got good skills, which if you've built it up front, the sales pressure, chances are you're not going to have the skills.
So the way around that is to not do the walk, but just trying to eye contact. Don't make eye contact. Just sort of don't really zero in on them, eh?
Yeah, don't be obvious.
Yeah,
like walk up to them, but don't be obvious. Make it as if you're walking to someone else who's near them, but then So I think car salespeople, retailers, they all need to learn from this one line, which is always be disarming. Always be disarming. Don't be fake. Like if you walk into a shopping mall and you walk into one of those stores and you wait to be greeted or whatever, listen to what they say to you and think to yourself, what could they have done better? Because the canned response from a customer who walks into and they hear it 100 times a day. They hear the canned response, which is, oh, no, just looking. How are you today? Oh, no, just looking. That wasn't the question I asked. Yeah, because you built sales pressure by asking me as soon as I walked into the store, rather than coming up to me and talk to me like a person. You were pretending to hang up a pair of jeans and you were shouting at me from the other side of the room, the store. Of course I'm going to say, oh, no, just looking. I do want help. I came in for help. But I'm going to tell you I'm just looking because that's the canned response that triggered in me. So we trigger off prospects' canned responses with what we say. Cold call, in person, in a store, wherever. And too many people make that mistake. And they lose sales because of it. Because that upfront interaction was rubbish.
Joey, like going back to your mentoring, when you describe those guys you were mentoring and you brought identity into the sales teaching.
Yeah.
Was that like a cultural thing, a cultural identity? How does that relate to? Was that something that's new that you've discovered?
Nah.
Or something that is that a reflection on diversity in the workplace? How they're more likely to, accept, different cultures in the corporate world. And
so, good question. What I mean by identity versus role. So there's a role attached to that. Your identity is not your role, right? And what I mean by that is, too often we have people in the workplace who are so good at a role. They become so good at a role, they feel like that's part of who they are now. Because I'm this amazing, let's say, example, chief executive officer. I'm an amazing chief executive officer. My company's doing so well. All my employees love me. So now they start to think, that's who I am. I'm a chief executive officer When in actual fact, they go home, right? So here's an example. They go home. Who's the boss? The wife. They're not the boss. They're the boss at work. So the identity part of it is, who are you when there's no work? Who are you to your loved ones? Right? Are you someone who can be loved unconditionally? Are you someone who loves themselves unconditionally? If you're someone who believes your role has something to do with your identity, it's because you don't love yourself unconditionally. It's because you now place that importance on that role as a CEO to say, yeah, that's me. I'm this head honcho CEO person. If you can separate the two, especially if you're in a sales role, if you can separate your identity from your role, that means people only get to see at work the work you, right? They don't get to see the personal you. So there's a rule attached to that, which is what I learned from David Sandler, which is never expose your belly button. And it just means you only ever expose your belly button when you're at the beach with your family, your loved ones, or you're at home barbecuing or whatever. Only your loved ones get to see the real you, your real personality, outside of work. Whereas the work people, you put it on. You put on a show for them. You don't actually... But there are certain parts of your identity that you bring to work, that your personality that you bring to work. You kind of give them a small snippet of what you're like as your personality. But your role should never be considered, because if I asked you right now, scale 1 to 10, how you would put yourself, where you sit on the scale 1 to 10, 1 being you're absolutely shit at your role, you should be fired. 10 being you're the man at your role, you should be promoted. If I asked you where you sat on that, where would you place yourself? 10. See, that's a level of confidence that's come with years of skill and experience and knowledge, knowing that you are a 10, right? But if I asked you, if scale 1 to 10 again, your identity, 1 being you're at the lowest point of your life, and 10 being you're super confident, you're a great person, and you're definitely going to heaven. Where would you put yourself on that scale?
6.
See, so that to me indicates, right? That indicates to me that outside of work, you feel different to the work person. The work person is a 10. Because you know that you acquired that 10 that you gave yourself from the skills, from the knowledge, from the experience, from your network and all the rest of it. Whereas because you placed yourself at only a 6 in your identity, means you feel there's room to make it to a 10, and there's a gap between the 6 and the 10. So I think it just means, for me, when I coach salespeople on those same 2 questions that I just asked you, and they give a lower score for the identity than the role, there's some work-ons that need to be done there. And the work-ons is basically just you. You giving your 6 is basically you telling me, without saying the words, that you feel unfulfilled. 10 is fulfilled, right? At a 10, and the thing is, we should always be at a 10.
Both.
For the identity, not necessarily the role. For the role, you can be any. It doesn't matter. Because it just means your skill level or experience isn't there yet. That's fine. That can be worked on. But our identities should always be at a 10. Reason? There's no other Cam in this world. There's no other Cam Schuster in this world. Even if you were a twin, your twin can't be your 10. Right? So
the only reason why it's a 6 and a 10, only reason why it's a 10, because I've been there for a long time, and I'm at sort of like the top of where I'm at. When I say 6, my identity is the home life identity.
Yeah, the identity is the home life, how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, it's okay. I was a 10 maybe 6 years ago, or
Yep.
But now there's more goals.
Yeah,
I haven't reached.
Awesome.
So that's why it's come down to 6. So now I've got
So that's right?
Yeah.
What I said
Yeah.
is that you feel unfulfilled right now because you haven't reached those goals. And that's fine. It's just there is a risk if we place ourselves lower on that scale of identity scale that the reasons you gave aren't there, because there are people who are giving lower scores, but their reasons are they feel regret that certain things haven't been achieved. They feel regret that their life has turned to shit.
But that's like a half cup full way thing, eh? Because they can feel that or feel like there's things to be made and they haven't gone there yet, rather than I regret not doing that.
This one concept about the identity versus the role has helped so many salespeople that I've worked with to realize, actually, my results or my performance outcomes, they can be helped if I move up the scale, especially the identity, right? So if I took all your roles away as a husband, dad, worker, all those, brother, son, if I took all those roles away within Cam, right, and I left you on a desert island, and all you had was your identity, you'd have to be a 10. Because a lot of us, we tend to think some of our roles in our life define who we are as our identity. Like my sales role, that's not who I am outside of work. Outside of work, I'm different, totally different person. Sales is just something that I learned and got good at. But it's not necessarily who I am. It doesn't define me. So that's the differentiation that people need to be aware of, because a lot of them cross it over too much. You can bring certain parts of your personality to work to help with your work and to help get up the scale to a 10 to where you are. But, there's a big but, in terms of your identity, it's got to be, okay, here's the reasons why I'm not at a 10, and what am I going to do to get to a 10? It's way more powerful than the role. The role is the role. The role is like, you can be replaced, right? Your boss will replace you. And you'll be missed for a little while. But the real you, if you were to die, right, you can't be replaced. Everyone who loves you will miss you. Whereas your role, if you left the workplace, within a week, your job ad will be up for that role. Can I see where I'm getting at?
Yeah, because I think it might be even different now, because in terms of like replacing workers, like especially after COVID, our industry has been a mess with people working and stuff, because there's two problems now. One, there's no one experienced to be hired out there, and two, you're stuck with the people you got, and when they leave or get another job somewhere because someone's headhunted them and offer more money, then you're screwed.
Yeah,
because you can't get anyone else, and that's the problem we're having now in the industry after COVID.
Is that right?
Yeah. So what was my point of that? I forgot what my point was, but yeah, it's all like the market is weird right now.
It is.
But you know when I was talking about like, so it's got nothing to do with like cultural identity.
No.
It's the identity of yourself at home and yourself at work. Because I know because you made me think about my 10, and the reason why it's different, because you don't have to bring your identity into my work, because there's a process there. And if you stick to the process, all it's about is using the process to get the job done.
Yeah.
And that's what the company cares about. Just get the job done.
Yeah.
And you don't need to have a personality to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can to help things, you know. make things fun or anything, or build relationships. But I think my role in the company is I'm just like a worker kind of role, whereas the boss is the guy that talks to the clients and gets all the jobs and all that stuff and just filters it down to us and we just get the job done.
So you're an individual contributor?
Yeah, but I'm the only one at the job that does the job.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't, if I leave, then it'll be hard to get someone else. Sort of
True.
Yeah. But I've been there for a long time, almost 15 years. So. More than 15 years, yeah.
Got shares in the business?
No.
Is there an opportunity for that?
There's pathways to it. I think you got to get the house mortgage.
That's another thing as well. That's another thing that I've encouraged Pacifica people who get into jobs. Always find out, like, one way to be in good stead with your boss or the owner of the business is by saying it up front and early in the piece. Could be in the interview, could be in your first week on the job. Setting time aside with the owner of the business and saying, hey, look, without saying the words, I see myself being here long term. Asking a question like, are there any opportunities for, say, shares for employees? What that immediately does to the owner of the business or the leader, it makes them think, oh shit, this person wants to invest in the business. Therefore, in my mind, as the leader or the owner of the business, I'm thinking they see themselves here long term. And in order for them to see themselves here long term, they think they're going to be successful in the role. And if they're thinking they're going to be successful in the role, I need to pick up my game and support them as much as they can to be successful in the role. So it's a win-win thing that you've just created with that one question. And now the leader who may not have been open to it before because they never thought of it, they might think, oh shit, I should open up shares to the employees because it'll bring everything up. They'll be so invested in the business that they only want success for it. So that's one tip that I can give to anyone who starts in the company or who's just started with a business or is looking to jump into a partnership with someone else. Always ask that question.
And that's something you're passionate about too, eh? Empowering our people to do well in the corporate world and climb the ladder. Yeah. So to speak, because I've seen some posts you've done on Twitter about that kind of forwarding or retweeting advice about talking to your employer how to get a raise. Yeah. You know, how to get in that position where you can do that, be in the position how can you work towards being in a position in your company where you call the shots, because if you leave, then they're screwed. Exactly. So you can ask for a raise, or if you're being, that kind of stuff. So you're real passionate about that, eh? Absolutely. So for me, the reason being is because until we get to a point where we can own our own thing, I want us to own a part of the thing that we're a part of. So the company that we work for, why not own a part of it? Why not strive towards owning a piece of that pie and being seen as a part owner? Because time and time again, we're seen as workers, and we're more than happy to just be the worker and cash our check at the end of it and pay our bills. But if we're truly invested by having a piece in that business that we're working for, it's going to be a win for everyone. Long term for the kids, whatever, next generation. And this just comes through my own experience of seeing people leaving money on the table, leaving situations where they could have got so much from it. And it's there. These opportunities are there. We just don't know about it. And we don't have enough people sharing the knowledge. Here's an opportunity to own shares in the business. Here's an opportunity to negotiate higher salary up front when you first come on board. You have the, I guess, the position of power when you're an employee who's just been hired, or they're looking to hire you, right? They've sent you a contract. Unfortunately for our people, we
We know that the salary is going to be this much. And we think to ourselves, oh, fuck, we've never had that before, right? Never had that level of salary before. And they get so excited. They just want to sign the contract before, before it turns into Cinderella's bloody pumpkin shoes. But what we don't realize is there are more things we can ask for in that moment. We just need to go through the contract and go, am I going to be happy with all these perks and all the rest of these benefits? Is there anything missing, benefit-wise, perks-wise? And is that the top dollar that I could get? Will I be looking too greedy if I go and ask for more? And if I do ask for more, how can I justify it? How can I answer the question, why should I give you more? Right? I need to be prepared. So I need to read through the contract or get someone legal to read through it and bring up any discrepancies there might be. If there's anything missing that is typical of what others would get, throw it in there. Hey, look, happy to sign it once I see better health benefits or, this, that, and the other. Another thing that I encourage people to do when they're in the workplace, find out what your peers are earning. Make it normal to talk about salaries. That's the only way you're going to fill that equity gap, that pay equity gap as well. Especially the women. The women need to find out what the men are earning. And then build a business case, take it to the leaders, take it to the powers that be, ask for equal pay because you're doing the same job as the other person. But there are certain instances where that doesn't work. But if you're in a typical job, ask your peers, hey, what are you guys on? Oh, true.
I've heard the arguments against the equal pay with gender, especially the women side of things.
Yeah, I've heard as well from my mate Jordan.
Yeah.
My mate Jordan Peterson.
His views make sense, but then it comes down to a choice with women. Do they really want to have a career filled life where you got no time to have kids and look after your kids and that? Like, I don't know what the stats are with the women CEOs in the world. There are some, like I think Coca-Cola or Pepsi or something. It's a woman CEO, I think. But their life's just hectic, like 24/7, no time for family, and like that's a man can get away with that.
Yeah.
But a woman needs, I don't know, it comes from the Bible anyway.
Yeah.
It's all in the Bible. But do you believe in that transparency, the page transparency thing? Because that will get over the...
Oh, totally. Like when an employer knows that their employees know about each other's pay, they're stuck.
Yeah.
They have no choice but to equal the pay to the highest person that's being paid. Unless that highest person has a different skill set that is required for their particular role. And that's different.
Because you said in sports, especially American sports, they have transparency of their pay. New Zealand rugby, don't they?
Nah, they tend to not publish that kind of stuff.
But NRL they're transparent with their pay.
They have to be, since the salary caps keep getting broken.
Oh yeah, right. Because we don't have one.
Nah.
Wow.
Yep.
How are we doing for time?
It's just past 12.
Is that us?
Yep, that's us.
So wrap it up. So big night for you.
Yep.
Gonna wake up for the game then tomorrow?
Yes. Oh, for sure. I'll be all over the place. I'll be just wasting petrol going from one place to the other. Celebrating with flags and everything.
So I think everyone's forgotten Manu Samoa is actually playing tomorrow too against Romania.
Oh, shucks.
3:00.
They beat Georgia last week.
Yeah, they beat Georgia.
That didn't get enough press, I don't think. Well done to Seilala and all the boys and all the management staff.
Yeah. So 3:30 a.m. before the tour game, they'll be playing. I
know their past games against Georgia have been quite tough for Manu Samoa. So well done on that one. Some confidence going into the Romania game.
Yeah. So, before we go, I'll put this post on the WesWes Network Instagram page. What do you think is the greatest? You got two choices. The greatest sports event in Samoa's history. David Tua, Lennox Lewis.
Shit.
Or Tua Samoa Kangaroos.
If the outcome is on our side of it, that's a tough one.
They're both big events, eh?
I think far out. I think for me, like at the time, I would have easily told you David Tua versus Lennox Lewis. But because we're in 2022 and the magnitude of what this kind of result can do for the next generation of kids who look to Samoa as a viable choice for their national honours, I would have to say Tua Samoa beating Australia would be more important than David Tua beating Lennox Lewis back then. Obviously for the sport of boxing, that would have been great for the sport of boxing, but I think this, in terms of reach, Tua Samoa's outcome against Australia would have far more reach to school kids who, or the next generation of kids coming through who may have only ever seen Australia or New Zealand as the options to play. Whereas now, thanks to Tonga, thanks to Jason Taumalolo and Andrew Fafita and the likes, Samoa has got to this point where the stars have all come back to help out, to chip in, to play for their heritage, or whatever reasons they gave. And now we're in a position to win the World Cup, you know, and create history again. I mean, we've already created history to this point, but to create history again, not just on behalf of Samoa, but all the Pacific Islands, because we represent all of Pacifica. So that would be great. And just thinking about it makes me think, far out, what an impact that would have getting the W over Australia this weekend. So, yeah, with that, my answer would be Tua Samoa getting the W.
Yeah. If I think about it now, because I chose the David Tua fight because I compared boxing, the sport of boxing, especially heavyweight boxing compared to rugby league around the world. Boxing is the biggest sport. But then, you know, when you think about the impact, sure, David Tua had big impact for us, but there weren't any parades or anything like that. But that was a different time too, because there was no internet really that time. Social media is sort of exploded, but
there was parades in front of Tua's house.
Oh yeah,
around the time, and we had a long, like, I was part of the parade that they had where they walked on the roads of Mangere.
Oh yep,
which was cool. But just even that, like, it's only small compared to the parades that you've seen so far.
Yeah,
and we haven't even won the final.
Yeah, that's
imagine winning the final.
Oh, it'll overtake the David Tua Lennox Lewis by far, I think.
I just, I think even if Tua lose this final, the kids are now already looking, shit, I want to be part of Tua Samoa. Because my heroes have played for them. Look, Luai and To'o and Junior Polo and all the rest. It's like, far out, that's awesome. Swali. Man, that guy's a talent. So glad he chose to play for Samoa. And he's tall.
Yeah. He's only 19. So, man, I think the Roosters are going to have a dilemma next season. Who's going to be their fullback? They got three good choices right there. I think Joey Manu won one of the awards, Player awards.
Who's coaching the Roosters next year?
I don't know.
I think it will come down to the personal preference of the coach and whether he wants a young star, up-and-coming star, taking, you know, the fullback spot as I guess a note for the future, and just moving Teddy to the side to one of the other positions, because you can't not have him on the field. I think I'd love to see Swali at fullback instead of Teddy. Teddy's done his bit there. Should probably look at moving on. Manly, maybe.
Yeah, hope so. So, man, thanks for coming on board back on Rugby 5, man. You know, more than welcome to join us watching the game tomorrow morning, and I'll crack open the champagne. Buy the champagne. I've got the champagnes ready for champagne breakfast. Sweet.
Nice one. Thanks for having me, man.
Right.
Go to the tour. Why the tour?